USA Network and Diamond B Sports presents from the National Hot Rod Association Championship Drag Racing, the 1986 Castrol GTX Keystone Nationals. Speeds in excess of 270 miles an hour, covering the quarter-mile distance in less than 6 seconds. Drag racing from the NHRA. Welcome to the Agricultural Center of Pennsylvania, located between the cities of Lancaster, York, and Reading. It was this fertile valley near Maple Grove Raceway that attracted farmers from Holland and Germany over 250 years ago. Their descendants are known as the Pennsylvania Dutch. The plain people, or Amish, who shun modern conveniences, can be seen in abundance here, a testament to their success and to the simple life. Hello, everybody. I'm Dave McClellan, and welcome to Maple Grove Raceway, where the largest crowd in the history of this racetrack has jammed in for the second annual running of the Castrol GTX Keystone Nationals. There's been some great stories develop in this race. To find out more, let's go to Steve Evans.
You're right, Dave. There have already been some interesting stories, even though this race is yet young. I'm at the far end of the racetrack, where sometimes I feel like I live, but at least here at Maple Grove, I've got some company, the fine guys of NHRA Safety Safari and this emergency unit. There are some sportsman preliminaries going on right now, but we're only just a few minutes away from the second round of professional action. Now, earlier today in round number 1, the low qualifier in top fuel, Darrell Gwynn, who you'll recall set the national record just a few weeks ago at the U.S. Nationals. He qualified number 1 here at 5.37 seconds. But in the first round, paired off with Gary Ormsby, Darrell lost traction right off of the starting line. He battled to get it back, but to no avail, and Ormsby won with a relatively slow 5.65 second elapsed time. To say the very least, Darrell was disappointed.
That car was going to run a low 520 today. I'm telling you, when I let go of the brake, right off the concrete pad, and it just shook and smoked the tires. My dad gave me instructions to hold the brake when I left the start line, and it's still charged, even holding the brake. But the minute I let the brake off, it's just smoked the tires. There ain't nothing else we can do. We did the best we possibly could.
Now, as if to rub a little salt in Darrell's wounds, his arch rival and nemesis, Big Daddy Don Garlitz, came right behind him and took away Darrell's track record with a 5.36 at 270 miles an hour against a red-lighting Jimmy King. Garlitz could just smell records in the air.
Looks like we're set in position to set another record.
How fast, how quick?
Well, it ought to be able to run 272, 534, maybe under, who knows.
Funny car qualifying held very few surprises. Kenny Bernstein, number 1 at 5.58 seconds. Mark Oswald in the Candies in Hughes Pontiac, number 2 at 5.62 seconds. But in round 1 action earlier today, an East Coast match racer named Dominic Santucci, that's right, Dominic Santucci, came up with a 5.68 second elapsed time to defeat Tom the Mongoose McEwen. And it will be Santucci with that newfound performance up against Kenny Bernstein when we get to round number 2. In Pro Stock qualifying, the Bob and Warren show continued. Bob Glenn, the world champion, put his Ford Thunderbird on the pole at 7.41 seconds. Warren Johnson just behind him with his Oldsmobile at 7.45. But Warren Johnson got a big surprise in round number 1. It was Don Campanella from New Jersey in a Trans Am off the mark ahead of Johnson, and across the finish line first, it was Campanella. Even though he ran 100ths of a second slower, he had the advantage right off the mark, and much to Bob Glidden's delight, Warren Johnson was gone early. But also in round number 1, David Hutchins from Illinois. He's been pro stock racing about 5 years. Well, he finally really caught on. A 7.46 second elapsed time in round number 1, and that is my dark horse pick to win it all as we get ready for round 2 of pro stock.
Steve, your dark horse, David Hutchins, driving the Wayne County Speed Shop Camaro, is in the first pair that approaches the starting line. We're in the second round of eliminations of Pro Stock Eliminator at the Keystone Nationals. These 1,000-plus horsepower machines, quite a handful to drive, and it is most important to get a good start. David Hutchins defeated Sam Giannino in the first round race to earn the right to race Stan Mizell. Mizell beat Joe Lapone Jr. in a big upset in the first round of competition. As the two cars approach the starting line, they roll into light beams that are stretched across the racetrack. The tire breaks that light beam, turning on a light on top of the Christmas tree or electronic starting device. When all 4 lights on the top of the Christmas tree are lit, that indicates to starter Buster Couch that both drivers are ready to go. They're in the proper position. The start is all important. Mizell in the far lane, David Hutchins in the near lane. It's a great start for Mizell. The front wheel's up just a little bit, but look at the advantage he gained over David Hutchins. But here comes Hutchins. And at the finish line by a matter of inches, David Hutchins in the Wayne County Speed Shop car pulls out the win. 7.46 seconds, his speed over 185 miles an hour. Let's look at this again. You see in the far lane, Stan Mizell gets nearly a 1/10 of a second advantage over David Hutchins. Now it takes a lot of horsepower to come from behind, this far behind, to pull out a win. Hutchins has that horsepower. As they approach the finish line, watch. Just about a fender length, and David Hutchins wins over Stan Mizell. Our next pair to the starting line, the team of Kuntz and Clark in the near lane. Don Kuntz is the driver. 6 years he's been in pro stock racing. He defeated Dempsey Hardy in the first round. He is racing against Don Campanello, who had the biggest upset of his career when he defeated Warren Johnson in the first round. Campanello drives a Pontiac Trans Am Firebird. He's in the far lane. In the near lane is Don Kuntz at the wheel of the Oldsmobile Forenza, and it's a red light start for Campanello. He leaves too soon. That's an instant win for Don Kuntz. Campanello leaving the starting line too soon, left the red light glowing on the Christmas tree, and coasting through is Don Kuntz, advancing into the next round of competition. On the starting line, the classic Ford versus Chevrolet battle. The world champion, the Ford Thunderbird of Bob Glidden, against one of the best Camaros ever constructed, that of the team of Rare and Morrison, driven by Bruce Allen. In round number 1, Allen defeated Mark Powick to earn the right to race the world champion. Glidden beat Gordy Rivera in his first round race. Glidden is trying for his 50th national event win here at the Keystone Nationals. The Ford Thunderbird of Bob Glidden, the Chevy Camaro of Bruce Allen, both cars using engines limited to 500 cubic inch displacement. They run on racing gasoline, use 2 4-barrel carburetors. 2 of the greatest drivers in drag racing. Their stage, a great start for Bruce Allen. He's got an advantage over Glidden. Glidden was the low qualifier. Can he come from behind to catch him? It's oh so close, and he does not. Bruce Allen with an upset win, 7:57, 184 miles an hour, and with a margin of inches at the finish line. It was at the starting line this race was won. Watch as Bruce Allen gained a very slight advantage over Glidden at the starting line. He maintained that advantage through mid-course. Then the Ford Thunderbird began to make just a little bit more power and started pulling up on Bruce Allen. But the finish line came out just a bit too quick for Bob Glidden. There's the margin of victory. Glidden actually ran quicker, but Allen won it at the starting line.
Well, Bob Glidden's 50th win will have to come on another day. Bruce Allen off the mark just a little bit ahead of you, and he ran just a tad slower, but he got there first, and that's what matters, of course.
We made a terrible run. We had terrible tire shake. Bruce must have made a pretty good run.
He did indeed. About 2 hundredths between you, but he was really the slower of the two.
That's the way it goes in racing.
Everybody's complaining about the shake, and here is Bruce Allen. A tremendous victory, Bruce, and you did it driving the car. You had a bit of a hole shot going for you, and that paid off.
Racing, Bob, you got to do everything right. I mean, you know, just the Levi Garrett car, we finally got a little bit better on a little shake, but, you know, racing, Bob, you just have to get up there and blast him. And I did feel like we might be able to do it. We've been so close, you know, it just finally got it. That just
Kicked him right out of this field, I'll tell you.
That's great. We needed the points.
It's Steve Bruce Allen certainly earning his pay today, driving the Camaro to a win over Bob Glidden. The burnout by Butch Leal, 2-time winner on the National Event Trail this year, racing a rookie driver, Don Beverly, out of Richmond, Virginia. Beverly defeated Jerry Ekman in round number 1, while Butch Leal defeated Joe Sway in the Sway Brothers entry. Leal in this sport for 26 years, 16 years in pro stock racing. He won thus far this season, the Spring Nationals and the Grand Nationals, was runner-up twice, but lost those races on a red light. And another red light for Butch Leal. He leaves the starting line too soon, puts him out of competition, and Don Beverly takes a big upset win. A 7:49 elapsed time. His performance is right there at a speed of 184 miles an hour, but Leal was way too quick at the starting starting line. That sets up our semifinals of Don Beverly against Don Coons, with Beverly having lane choice. The other pair, Bruce Allen against David Hutchins. Hutchins having lane choice in the semifinals in Pro Stock. The Top Fuel Racers getting ready. The 1986 Keystone Nationals is being brought to you by Castrol, the motor oil engineered for today's smaller cars. And by Goodyear, Goodyear Eagles. You either have Goodyear Eagles or you need them. And by Fram Bendix Autolite, which are all quality products of Allied Automotive. And by Budweiser. For all you do, this Bud's for you. We'll be right back to Maple Grove Raceway in the Keystone Nationals in just a moment. Raceway near Reading, Pennsylvania for the second annual running of the Castrol GTX Keystone Nationals. This is the streamliner of Gary Ormsby against the top-fueled dragster of Hank Endres. Both cars performing almost the ritualized procedure of a burnout. The burnout designed to heat up those huge 18-inch wide tires to get them as hot as possible. That helps provide the traction that will propel these cars to speeds upwards of 270 miles an hour. Endres may be having some problems getting the car to go backwards now. It's in reverse and heads back. In round number one, Hank Endres defeated Connie Coletta to earn the right to meet up against Gary Ormsby. We saw him in that big upset victory over the number one qualifier, Darrell Gwynn. Ormsby's Streamliner is certainly one of the most distinctive cars ever to hit the quarter-mile racetrack. But Hank Endres, in his own right, is using some aerodynamic bodywork to help slip through the air just a little bit. A lot of advances being made in the field of aerodynamics in Top Fuel racing over this past season. Endres' car using that super smooth nose piece along with a canopy over the cockpit, while Ormsby has opted for full body work over the engine and rear wheels. A great start for Ormsby and smoking tires for Endres. Now a smoking engine. And Ormsby, for the second race in a row, takes on a favorite and wins the race. 5.64 seconds at 255 miles an hour. Ormsby getting a break, advancing to the semifinals. This is Gary Beck. 3 times Beck won the national championship. He is a 2-time world champion. He's racing against the defending Keystone Nationals champ. This is Big Daddy Don Garlits. Crew Chief Herb Parks making the final check of that some 3,000 horsepower racing engine nestled in the frame rails behind Don Garlits. Garlits pioneering the use of the canopy over the cockpit, and that aerodynamic nose piece that he describes allows him to sort of punch a hole in the wind and drive right through it. Let's go to the far end of Maple Grove Raceway and Steve.
Well, Gary Ormsby's good fortune continues. In the first round, it was low qualifier Darrell Gwynn who lost traction, smoked the tires. Now Hank Endres has engine problems. A 564, but you're headed for the semis no matter what it is.
Sometimes we get lucky, Steve. I mean, what can I say? We're 2 530 cars and we're in the next round.
You've had enough bad luck this season to deserve a little, I think.
Boy, that's for sure. So maybe it's our turn.
And Steve, you know, there's still another 530 car that Ormsby may have to face, and that's Don Garlits. You saw a little bit earlier when Don Garlits defeated Jimmy King, running a 5.36 second elapsed time to establish low ET of the meet. For Gary Beck, his first round opponent was Eddie Hill. Beck won that race and now is facing Don Garlits in round number 2. The 45-year-old Beck has had a great career in drag racing. He has won 19 national events, but it has been since the World Finals in 1985 since he has graced the winner's circle. For Don Garlits, he's coming off one of the biggest wins of his career, taking home his 8th U.S. Nationals title just a couple of weeks ago. Beck has the advantage off the starting line, but here comes the streamliner of Garlits, cutting through the wind to a 5.44 seconds, 264-mile-an-hour charge. That moves Garlits into the semifinals. Beck made a valiant try in his starting line effort. As we look again, you see Beck's car in the far lane move just a little bit quicker than Garlits. That was about 2/100ths of his second advantage off the starting line, but it was a very smooth run for Garlits' Streamliner. The tires not slipping a bit. He extended his lead. It was a full car length when they crossed the finish line.
Well, a 544, 264, Don, will put you in the semifinals, but no help as far as those records are concerned.
We're not worrying about records. We just won another round, and that's what's important, Steve.
I really wonder, though, if conditions, they're not quite as good now. The temperature up a bit.
Yeah, we've lost 1,000 foot of air.
It may come back, though, before the day's over.
You never know.
Okay. Big Daddy goes into the semis.
Steve, that round win increases the points total for Don Garlits in the World Championship chase. Here's the man that won the World Champion title in 1984. He is the home state favorite here at Maple Grove Raceway. From Old Forge, Pennsylvania, comes Joe Amato. In the first round, he beat Texas Gene Snow, while his competition, Earl Whiting, a lumberman of Montesano, Washington, was beating Jack Ravel. Whiting, teamed with engine builder and tuner Gaines Markley, is in his rookie season as a Top Fuel dragster driver. He had some hired drivers prior to this, but tried it, liked it so much, he decided he's going to take it up and is now facing Joe Amato. He owns a performance parts warehouse distribution operation on the eastern seaboard. And for this huge crowd that is jammed into Maple Grove Raceway, the largest in the history of this track, they think Joe Amato is absolutely the best. Amato in the near lane, Whiting in the far lane. Amato builds up a lead off the starting line. He dances a bit out of the groove, extends the lead though, and wins it by a substantial margin. His wife Jerry is happy with that win as he goes into the semifinals with a great 5.47 second elapsed time. His speed, 256 miles an hour. The next race engine comes to life. The burnout's underway. In the far lane, Dan Pastorini, and this is Dick LaHaye. In his second full season of Top Fuel racing, Dan Pastorini, the 37-year-old former NFL quarterback, has made quite a name for himself. He's already won his first national event title, winning this year's Southern Nationals. Here at the Keystones in round number 1, he beat John Kerry. Meantime, Dick LaHaye defeated Shirley Muldowney in the first round, and he had a great 5.40 second elapsed time, indicating that he's certainly got the performance potential.
Well, Dave, as you heard, a giant roar from the partisan Pennsylvania fans. Joe, a 5:47, you are semi-bound.
Yeah, Steve, the car's running real good this weekend. You know, we've got a lot of hometown crowd here, and we've got a lot of people from the warehouse, and so it's really exciting to do good for the hometown crowds. You know, the car's running good. We've been consistent all weekend running in the 540, so it's a big thing here what Dick LaHaye runs, because lane choice could be important.
Steve, he obviously is picking Dick LaHaye to win this race, but Pastorini may have something to say about it. Both cars set, waiting for the green, and it's a smoking start for LaHaye. Pastorini smokes the tires, but look at LaHaye recover, and to the finish line by a car length. Dick LaHaye wins the race in 5.82 seconds. His speed, 241 miles an hour. Off the pace just a little bit, and that gives the lane choice to Joe Amato in the semifinals of Top Fuel. Our other pair finds Don Garlits going up against Gary Ormsby. Will Ormsby's luck hold? We'll find out in a few moments. Garlits has lane choice in that race.
Well, Dave, before this race, Dan Pastorini told me, Steve, I get my second-round dance partner again. Dick LaHaye only never lets me lead. You let him lead for an instant, and it almost hurt you.
Well, it sure did. The thing went out and come loose and started smoking the tires, and I pedaled it once, and it didn't catch, and I pedaled it again, and it didn't catch, and so I stuck it in high gear and stepped back into it, and then it was okay, I guess.
Well, it was certainly okay with this young cutie. We'll be right back at the Castrol GTX Keystone Nationals.
Motor racing. No matter what form, nothing is tougher on man and equipment than professional motor racing. Chief mechanics all over the country realize that nothing contributes more to a successful team than quality parts and engineering in the products they choose. That's why more and more professional racing teams are choosing Oldsmobile. Quality and pride in workmanship are foremost in every car we build. When seconds count and second best just won't do, the choice of champions is Oldsmobile. Quality built in.
Grove Raceway, it's funny car time. Brad Tuttle in the near lane, Steve Hodkinson in the far lane. In the first round of racing, Brad Tuttle defeated Billy Meyer. Meyer, not only a great racer, also has built a great racetrack.
Dave, tremendous excitement is already building for the next race on the NHRA Championship Tour. The Chief Auto Parts Nationals at the brand new $7 million Texas Motorplex in the Dallas suburb of Ennis, Texas. And that track, of course, built by this young funny car racer, Billy Meyer. And Billy, everyone looking forward to seeing these ultra-modern facilities. But the racers are all talking about one thing, an all-concrete quarter mile.
Well, you know, Steve, years ago when drag racing started, we used to race at airports, and they were all concrete racetracks, and that was the best traction we've ever had, even up to this day. However, they had the, what we called speed bumps back then, where the tar strips about every 20 feet.
Expansion joint.
Expansion joints, they go dun, 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 you know, and just beat you to death. with modern technology in the construction business, what we did is we looked at the concrete and then we designed it in such a way as they do slabs in areas where the ground moves quite a bit, which we built it in a post-tension slab, 1,500 feet long, 63 feet wide, and it is the cables that are in it. Every time when we made a pour in the concrete, 8 hours later, they stretched it to 35,000 pounds of string. And so there's 35,000 pounds of pull in all four directions, and there's not a seam one in it.
And Dave, a lot of people are predicting that because of that concrete quarter mile, the entire NHRA record book will be completely remodeled at Texas Motorplex. And the best part about all of this is that you and I and the USA Network will be there.
And Steve, you can see all the action from the Chief Nationals on Tuesday, October 7th at 10 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, right here on USA Sports. Today, we're at Maple Grove Raceway in Pennsylvania. Steve Hodkinson had a great upset win in the first round when he defeated John Force, and Brad Tuttle pleased his car owner Jerry Hammond with his big first round win. Now, in the second round, these two racers that primarily stay close to home. For Hodkinson, his home base of Oklahoma City, you find him racing throughout the southwestern part of the country. For Brad Tuttle, he is a former boat racer living in Hesperia, California, his first full season on the NHRA National Event Tour. Some repair work recently done to Steve Hodkinson's car. They grafted a new front end on that body. And a great start for Brad Tuttle. He gets out close to the guardrail, but drives away from it and drives away from Steve Hodkinson. Tuttle's time of 5.86 seconds. His speed, 241 miles an hour. That'll move the Nitro Bandit into the semifinals. Here's the low qualifier, the reigning world champ, and the man that's leading the points chase this season. This is Kenny Bernstein. Racing against Bernstein is the man that had that big upset in the first round, D.A. Santucci. This Keystone Nationals has seen some real surprise wins. Let's go to Steve.
Well, Brad Tuttle right now remembers why he started racing to begin with. Those win lights are a lot of fun to get, a 586.
Well, that's all right. Yeah, I tell you, one for Jerry Hammond, I wouldn't be here today, but we dropped off a little bit where we figured we would be on the conservative side.
You were such a fine boat racer, as was Eddie Hill. What's the toughest thing, the conversion you have to make from water to asphalt?
Just, the horsepower it has to make and try to get the other end first.
That's the name of this game, Steve, getting to the finish line first. And Dominic Santucci has been playing this game for a number of years. It was way back in 1969 that D.A. Dominic Santucci won his first national event title, a top gas win at the U.S. Nationals. For Kenny Bernstein, the winningest funny car racer in history last season, 6 national event titles to his credit. In the first round here at the Keystone Nationals, he beat Johnny West. The burnout's completed, the two drivers approaching the staging beams. Those staging lights coming on at the top of the Christmas tree, and it's a good start for Bernstein, but Santucci's trying to stay with him. Bernstein continues to pull ahead, and by several car lengths wins it. Look at his elapsed time, 5.63 seconds. He's serving notice. He's got the combination at this moment. Santucci tried, but came up just a little bit short. Still, his greatest day ever on the racetrack. Here's Ed McCulloch, and he's had a few great ones himself. McCulloch 2 times this season has already been in the winner's circle, as has this driver, Mark Oswald, in the Candies and Hughes car. Oswald driving that Pontiac Trans Am has been locked in the points chase with Kenny Bernstein, trying to stop Bernstein from becoming a repeat world champion.
Well, for Kenny Bernstein, an outstanding 563, Ken, will put you into the semifinal round. But how about that guy Santucci? He was really in it to about half track or so.
Right there. Well, I didn't doubt that because he ran 68 the run before, but the consistency, hopefully he's back with the Budweiser King tempo, and Dale and the guys will keep her going.
Well, everybody's concerned about smoking the tires, riding that ragged edge. How about your team?
Well, I think so. We've been doing it here for 3 days, and I don't know anything different today except that we've got it right there, but it's probably real close right now.
Just part of the overflow crowd that is in Maple Grove Raceway today. In fact, they had to close the gates earlier today because there just was no more room. In his first race today, 33-year-old Mark Oswald defeated Jim Head of Columbus, Ohio, while Ed McCulloch beat East Coast racer Jerry Caminito. Both these drivers have been in the winner's circle twice thus far this season. At this race, in the first round pairings, it was Oswald by about 1/10 of a second advantage over McCulloch. Both cars are set, and it's a great start for Oswald. McCulloch smokes the tires. Oswald pulls ahead and continues to lead by a couple of car lengths. Oswald pleases his car owner, that's for sure. Paul Candies with a 5.65 second, 262-mile-an-hour charge. He and Bernstein, the two best cars thus far in funny car racing. Here's the defending champion, a real crowd favorite. This is Tim Gross from Saugus, California. Racing against him is Paul Smith, driving the car owned by Gary Cravens. Smith out of Boynton Beach, Florida, surprised everyone, qualifying here in the number 4 position in funny car. For Tim Gross, it's been good times and bad times thus far in 1986. He started off the season with a bang, winning the Winter Nationals Championship. In round number 1 here at the Keystones, he defeated Scott Coletta. Paul Smith is still looking for his first ever national event win. In the first round, he beat Pat Walsh. While these two drivers are getting ready for their race, they've got to be thinking about the times turned by Bernstein and Oswald.
Dave, you're absolutely right. Kenny Bernstein and this man, Mark Oswald, the class of the field today. Kenny came down here with a 563. Now you follow with a 565, Mark.
Yeah, it felt a little better. You know, we had a little problem the first round with the clutch and got it straightened around and picked up a little bit.
The bad times for Tim Gross came a couple of weeks ago when he exploded an engine at the U.S. Nationals, causing severe damage to the body, the chassis of that car. You can see the crack and the patch marks on the car in the far lane. That's the defending champion, Tim Gross. Paul Smith smokes the tires, and Gross wins the second round to try for 2 in a row here at the Keystone Nationals. His elapsed time, a slow 597, 228 miles an hour, but the important thing is he got the win light, and that moves him into the semifinals. Who will he race? None other than Mark Oswald, and Oswald having lane choice. Our other pair fights Brad Tuttle against Kenny Bernstein. Bernstein, the quickest car in eliminations, lane choice in this semifinal round. Meantime, in the pit area, lots of work going on in Joe Amato's pits. Crew Chief Tim Richards getting the engine ready for that match against Dick LaHaye. We'll be right back to the Keystone Nationals.
This is one of the most unusual schools around, a school for drag racing. And Frank Hawley, who runs it, pushes drivers and cars to the limit. That's why he uses parts that can take a lot of pressure, like Fram oil filters. He knows with a cheap brand there could be problems, like leaking gaskets and maybe even big engine trouble. So Frank thinks it's worth paying a little more for a Fram oil filter. After all, isn't it better to spend a little now instead of a lot later?
Dave McClellan along with Steve Evans. There's lots of work going on in Kenny Bernstein's pit area, getting ready for the semifinals. While we've been focusing our attention on the pro categories, there's lots more going on at Maple Grove Raceway.
After watching all of these high-tech pro racers, you may be wondering whatever happened to the more traditional hot rods. Well, worry not. There's over 500 of them here at Maple Grove in the sportsman categories. And look at this jewel I uncovered. This is Joe Santangelo's C-Class Street Roadster from Hartford, Connecticut. It runs in Competition Eliminator. It's a 27 Ford. Well, kind of a 27 Ford. These are really fiberglass replica body parts, all on a tubular steel chassis and powered by a small block Chevrolet V8. Joe holds the record in the class at near 150 miles per hour in just 8 seconds. But you know, there are a couple of original parts on this car. The license plate, just hung on there for the fun of it, and the beautiful brass radiator temperature gauge. But you know, the really neat thing about NHRA drag racing, you don't just sit in the grandstand and watch beautiful cars like this go down the quarter-mile strip. You invest a couple of extra bucks in a pit pass and you explore, like I do. It truly is the world's largest car show. You just never know what you might find.
Steve, while Santangelo was not fortunate enough to win today, a tip of the hat to our sportsman winners, top alcohol dragster Charlie Bauer, the first woman ever to win an alcohol funny car title, Bunny Burkett, competition eliminator Mark Clark, Supergas Tom Seaman, Bob Marshall, a repeat winner in Superstock, and Glenn Briglio in Stock Eliminator. Now on the starting line, it's the semifinals in Pro Stock. It is the Oldsmobile of the team of Kuntz and Clark, Don Kuntz driving against the Pontiac Firebird of Don Beverly. Beverly's car uses some electronic controls. In fact, he electronically shifts this car. He feels it's to his advantage to have both hands on the wheel when he leaves the starting line. And Beverly gets the advantage over Don Kuntz. The Pontiac Firebird shifting its way down the quarter mile, and Beverly moves into his first ever national event final. Don Beverly, the Richmond, Virginia-based trucking company owner, with a 7.50 second elapsed time. His speed, 184 miles an hour. In the burnout area, the Chevrolets, Bruce Allen in the far lane, David Hutchins in the near lane. The winner here goes against Don Beverly.
Well, a dream has finally come true for Don Beverly. Although these many years, your first final in Pro Stock is coming up. You left with a 400th advantage.
Well, Steve, it was great. We were running a little better than Don, and we just tried to be real steady that time. And it's we had a real good outing at Indy, and this is kind of the cream of the cake, if you know what I'm saying. It's been great.
Bruce Allen parlayed a brilliant driving job to defeat a quicker Bob Glidden in the previous round, but David Hutchins has been the quickest of all the Chevrolets here in competition. The RPMs on these 500 cubic inch engines beginning to mount, and it's a great start again for Bruce Allen in the far lane. Can he hold off David Hutchins? They only race for a quarter mile, and the finish line comes up quick for Bruce Allen. He wins it 7.61 seconds, but his time off just a little bit. That sets up our finals between Bruce Allen and Don Beverly, and the first-year pro, the rookie driver, has lane choice against the veteran Bruce Allen.
Well, Bruce Allen has certainly earned his keep today as a driver. Your second hole shot victory, first over Glidden, now over Hutchins.
Oh, those Dave and Wayne County cars been running real good.
Oh, boy.
You know, you just have to beat them somehow. You know, you go up there and do the best you can.
Well, Bruce Allen's doing great. He's in the finals. Here's another man that's doing great. This is Don Garlits getting ready for the semifinal round of Top Fuel racing at the Keystone Nationals. Enjoying itself. The next event on the NHRA National Event Trail, the Chief Nationals, is at super new Texas Motorplex. For ticket information, all you got to do is call 214-875-2641. The Chief Nationals, the 26th through the 28th of September.
What do you do if you're an IndyCar driver and you have a free weekend away from the kart wars? Well, if you're Rick Mears, you go to the drag races. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm enjoying it.
What brings you out?
Well, we just, like I say, we had a weekend off, you know, a free weekend, and being here in Reading, it was almost in the backyard of the race shop here, so I took advantage to come out. It's been a few years since the schedules have allowed us to come to a drag race, and I'm enjoying the heck out of it.
Our Top Fuel semifinal first pair, we find Dick LaHaye in the far lane, the crowd favorite Joe Amato in the lane nearest the camera. Joe, by virtue of his quicker elapsed time in the previous round of racing, has got the lane choice over Dick LaHaye. And as this afternoon wears on, that could become an important factor. Both cars ready. Concentrating on the start. And LaHaye leaves first. Amato may have some problems. He was very slow off the starting line. He comes on hard at the finish, but cannot pull it out. Dick LaHaye wins the race and goes into the finals 5.45 seconds. His speed 260 miles an hour, a 5:51 for Amato, and you can see as we look back again exactly how it happened. There goes LaHaye. He is just thundering off the starting line. All the clutch dust coming off Amato's car, indicating the clutch is slipping. Let LaHaye get ahead by about a car length, and that was the difference.
Dick LaHaye, no stranger to the final round. A little bit of a stranger to the winner's circle this year. A 5:45, just as nice and clean as it could be.
Yeah, out of the lane that nobody said we could get down.
Yeah.
I'm just tickled to death. You know, we have this knack of getting down these bad lanes. And, I mean, we was in the good lane and smoked the tires and went over in the bad lane and run 45. We're just tickled to death, and I think the motor's just real nice.
When he says we, it's a family affair for Dick LaHaye. His daughter, Kim, is the crew chief on this car. On the line now, the battle of the streamliners. These two cars represent pioneering but different approaches to the field of aerodynamics in Top Fuel racing. Garlits nearest the camera, a more simplistic approach with a nose piece and a covered canopy. But in the far lane, the full streamlined effect of Gary Ormsby's car. Gary even admits he's had a very lucky day at the Keystone Nationals. Will his luck hold against Don Garlits? Garlits with a huge advantage off the starting line and continues to pull ahead. The elapsed time for Garlits indicating he has lane choice in the finals. 5.40 seconds. His speed 267 miles an hour. The quickest car in competition. And the defending champion, Don Garlits, goes against Dick LaHaye in the final. And now LaHaye has moved into the second spot in the points chase for the World Championship.
Well, Dick LaHaye was thoroughly enjoying his day until he heard Big Daddy Don Garlits' elapsed time at 5:40. You will have lane choice over LaHaye in the final.
That's very important. I think this lane is just a little better. Not much, just a tiny bit in the middle.
Dick LaHaye told me he felt all his lane would hold was that 5:45 he ran.
Well, that might be true, because I looked, he had smoke in the middle off his tires just a little bit.
Conditions coming around a little bit. I know you go back and consult your weather station and see exactly what the relative altitude is.
Just not quite as much air here right now as there was this morning. Difficult to run real fast.
Big Daddy Don Garlits looking to make it 2 in a row here at Maple Grove.
And a very serious Don Garlits as he gets ready for his final round against Dick LaHaye on the starting line. We're into the semifinals of Funny Car, and there's some problems with Brad Tuttle's car on the far side. Starter Buster Couch takes a look. He says it's okay. Bring it to the starting line to race against Kenny Bernstein. Bernstein finishing up his staging procedures. The crew chief on that car is Dale Armstrong. Things are very calm and peaceful at the moment, waiting for that green light when both these cars will explode with some 3,000 horsepower apiece. And there goes Bernstein, pulling a lead off the starting line over Brad Tuttle. And to the finish line, it is Kenny Bernstein, and the roof comes off Tuttle's car. There you see it coming to rest, the fiberglass roof. There was no engine explosion. It appears that Tuttle is unhurt, but topless at the moment. The Nitro Bandit has blown its roof right off the top of the car. Bernstein ran a 5.65 second elapsed time at only 258 miles an hour as he goes into the finals. Brad Tuttle brings it to a stop. You can see his hands, and there he comes up and out of that Mustang-bodied car that's now a convertible. Let's look at that again. As they approach the finish line, Brad Tuttle, there goes the roof. Some wind just apparently got underneath the fiberglass body and pulled the roof right off of the car. The parachutes came out, and Tuttle brought it to a safe stop from another angle. There it goes, the roof off the Mustang of Brad Tuttle.
Well, Kenny Bernstein will go into the finals of this race for the second year in a row, exactly the way it's supposed to be done, 565.
Well, the consistency, again, like we spoke earlier, Steve, is back today, thank goodness. And hopefully it'll be good enough to get lane choice. Of course, with Oswald coming up, not that he's got it won, but we need that lane choice, I think.
Should know about Tim Gross. It was Bernstein that fell to Gross in the final round here 1 year ago, giving young Tim Gross his first ever NHRA national event title. You can see all the work that was done to that car after the engine explosion, some panels placed in the hood and lots of cracks still in the fiberglass body, but it still works fine. For Candice and Hughes and Mark Oswald, they have been consistent in the mid-560s. Can they maintain that performance level? Look at Oswald pull away from Tim Gross and pull away from the center line. Almost crossing the center line was Mark Oswald. He did not. He goes into the finals only 0.03 of a second slower than Bernstein, and Bernstein thus has the lane choice when they meet in the finals at the Keystone National. This marks the third time these two drivers have met in the finals, and Oswald has won both times before.
Well, Mark Oswald certainly found out why they put a steering wheel on these cars. You were all over the place.
Yeah, it was out of hand. Made it down there, though.
Indeed it did. On a 568, you just missed lane choice.
Yeah, if it would have went straight, I think we'd have had it, you know.
I think you lost about 500 taking the rainbow route.
It's plenty out of control.
Well, Candice down here, the car owner, congratulating you. You did do a fine job.
Thank you. Thank you.
In the pit area, the final touches being put on that high-tech Pontiac of Don Beverly, a surprise finalist in Pro Stock. We'll be seeing him in just a moment. GTX Keystone Nationals. Kim LaHaye performing the heavy work as a crew chief should on her dad Dick LaHaye's car, getting it ready for the final round match against Don Garlits, who's also getting set.
Well, the heavy mechanical work is going on in Big Daddy Don Garlits' pit right now, Dave. But when that is completed, the final thing that he is going to do, and he will do this personally, he will go to what I referred to earlier as his weather station. And it's this case of instruments: air density, temperature, humidity, the actual altitude of the property here at Maple Grove. All of that will be fed into this small little scientific computer, which is previously programmed. And that will tell him just exactly how much nitromethane, percentage-wise, he should run in the tank. It'll give him a lot of information about tuning that engine. You heard Garlits, I believe, say earlier, well, the air is 1,000 feet difference. As humidity comes up, it's like going up 1,000 feet in elevation where the air is thinner. But right now, looks to me like the humidity is coming down, and Garlits may indeed have a shot at some new national records.
Steve, on the surface, a very simple sport, but one that is complex indeed. Here are some very sophisticated race cars in the lengthening shadows at Maple Grove Raceway. Bruce Allen in the far lane, the surprising Don Beverly in the near lane. Our Pro Stock final, Pontiac versus Chevrolet. The two cars finally staged, and it's an advantage to Allen, but Don Beverly isn't giving any quarter. Beverly charges on in the near lane. It's an upset. Don Beverly wins the race. His elapsed time, 7.54 seconds. The crew overjoyed. Bruce Allen was close at a 7.57 seconds. 0.03 of a second at the finish line at the start. Bruce Allen had a 0.02 of a second advantage as he left the starting line ahead of Don Beverly. But that very sophisticated Pontiac Firebird of Beverly pulled ahead right at the end of the quarter-mile race course and by a matter of inches won the race. Don Beverly, the first time ever a Pro Stock championship in his garage.
Don Beverly. This has got to be one of the biggest upsets in Pro Stock in many, many years. A fine drive, a 754 beat a 757. It's got to feel wonderful.
Well, it was a good run. Bruce does a great job. He's a good guy to race. True champion. The Rhea Morrison team's great.
You know, Bruce told me, he said Beverly's a real calm guy. You're incredibly calm for what you've accomplished today.
Well, I tell you, it's maybe I haven't thought about it enough yet, but it's maybe it'll get to me in a little bit. But it was a lot of fun, and for my team, Randy Smith and Cliff Hughes and Boney and Mike and everybody, it's a real. We went this race last year, which we just got started, and it's to go this far. It's really great.
So this is really the anniversary of your first year in Pro Stock, and what a way to celebrate it.
I appreciate that a whole bunch.
What a job this fella did.
Steve, what a surprise. Don Beverly wins Pro Stock at the Keystone Nationals, going over to shake hand with the man that he just defeated. That's Bruce Allen on the starting line. What a pair. Mark Oswald in the far lane, Kenny Bernstein in the near lane. The two quickest cars in all of funny car racing at this event. They qualified number 1 and number 2 with Bernstein on top. It's a pick-em race. The shiny front wheel on Oswald's car blanked out with white shoe polish to prevent any random reflections from getting into the starting line device there in the center of the track. Bernstein got the lane choice. He picked the lane nearest the camera. He thinks that's the best. And it's a whole shot for Oswald by about a half a car length. He is ahead of Kenny Bernstein, and he holds it. And Mark Oswald defeats Kenny Bernstein for the 3rd time this season, moving him ever closer in that World Championship points chase. The quickest time of eliminations. He saved the best for last, 5.61 seconds. His speed, 257 miles an hour. You want to see close, funny car racing? Watch this. Oswald, by 100th of a second, had the advantage when they left the starting line. There's a little bit of smoke off the tires from Kenny Bernstein's car. That gave Oswald just enough time to pull ahead by a car length, and he held it all the way to the finish line.
Good job. Good deal. Mark Oswald wins his 3rd NHRA title of the year, but this one has got to be maybe the sweetest. A 561 to a 66, and you beat the baddest guy in the sport, no question about it.
Yeah, those guys are definitely hot. We're really happy to be able to beat them. You know, we got a lot of people to thank. You know, Pontiac, Old Milwaukee Beer, our sponsors have been real good to us. You know, everybody on the crew worked real hard.
Tell me about the race itself from the moment you left.
I think I got out on him a little. It felt like I had a little bit of a lead, and I was just trying to hang on. It's just like last round, the car was skating around on the other end, just trying to keep it off the center line.
Did you see him down the racetrack?
No, I didn't see him once. After about 100 feet, I never saw him.
Anytime you can outpower Kenny Bernstein in the lane he put you in, you've really accomplished something, Mark.
Yeah, the racetrack was excellent here in both lanes today, which helped us out quite a bit.
Congratulations, champion.
Thanks, Steve.
An outstanding driving job by 33-year-old Mark Oswald. A congratulatory handshake from Kenny Bernstein. There's one race left at the Keystone Nationals, the final in Top Fuel. Dick LaHaye talking to his daughter Kim. Big Daddy Don Garlett defending his championship. Grove Raceway. I'm Dave McClelland along with Steve Evans, and we're down to the last race of what has been a surprise-packed day. Dick LaHaye against Don Garlett for the Top Fuel title. The shadows beginning to lengthen as the sun's setting here late in the afternoon at Maple Grove. Dick LaHaye has been in the finals 4 times thus far this year, twice against Garlett, and has lost all 4 times. Garlett has got to be considered the favorite. He has got low elapsed time of the meet set in the first round of eliminations. He is the defending champion, and he comes off of that ultimate victory at the U.S. Nationals just a couple of weeks ago. The little tiny front tires pioneered by Garlett in his aerodynamic efforts at the front of that dragster, and it is LaHaye and Garlett. LaHaye smokes the tires, and Garlett has engine problems. LaHaye upsets Garlett in the finals and is your Top Fuel champion. His elapsed time, 5.57 seconds. His speed, 251 miles an hour. And as we look again, you can see exactly how it happened. Garlits and LaHaye lead the starting line just locked together. As they get down track just a little bit, LaHaye starts smoking the tires, indicating a loss of traction. But then the pendulum swings and Garlits has engine problems. LaHaye streaks ahead and takes his first win this year.
The last time we saw Dick LaHaye here on the USA Network was at Brainerd, Minnesota, as he sat dejectedly in the pits with a broken race car watching Don Garlits make a final run for all the money and all the points, but not today. Congratulations.
Thank God for that, I'll tell you. We both, I guess, smoked the tires, but this thing shook real bad and was all over the track. And I seen him out there, and then all of a sudden I just drove by him, and I thought, holy cow, I'm going to win this thing.
I think he may have had some motor problems as well.
That's too bad.
How many runners up?
This is our 5th final round this season.
The first one you actually captured. Oh, it's got to be sweet.
Oh, I'm just tickled to death. I mean, Kim's got to be so happy, and, you know, and the Republic people and everything, we're just tickled to death.
In fact, here comes Kim LaHaye. There's a little tear in those eyes, I guarantee you. Look at this girl, Boogie. Kim, you had the best view of that race, a better view than we did from down here. What happened from your standpoint?
It left the start line pretty good, but then it went out and it smoked the tires real hard. Started to move around, it got real loose, and that's what dropped the ET off a little bit, but got to the finish line first.
It certainly did. Congratulations, the LaHayes.
Steve, that's what I'd call a happy driver and his crew as the LaHaye family wins the Keystone Nationals. Our congratulations to all the winners here. For Steve Evans, I'm Dave McClellan saying so long from Maple Grove Raceway. The executive producer of Diamond P Sports is Harvey M. Palish. Supervising producer John B. Mullen. Produced and directed by Ron Giles. The 1986 Castrol GTX Keystone Nationals have been brought to you by Budweiser. For all you do, this Bud's for you. And by Oldsmobile, the official car of the National Hot Rod Association. Oldsmobile, where quality is built in. And by Fram Bendix Autolite, all quality products of Allied Automotive.